today I want to share with you my thoughts on the topic of health, and I got a question: how to deal with health circumstances, and how can we stop, let's just say, focusing so much on them when we're on a journey to manifest health, but then you constantly get lured back into the old state because your symptoms always remind you that you have these health tendencies or that you have these health symptoms, and then you try to manifest, but you always like waver back and forth because the 3D seems so overwhelming. But obviously that can be also adapted to any other life area. It's money, but you always see right now in your bank account that you don't have the money, or if it's the specific person, the relationship, and you see that they don't message you, or you see that it's not there. So how can we deal with the 3D in that way? And again, I will now in this video keep it on the health example, but you can obviously also adopt that for any other life area. So I think the key here is really for you to understand the connection between your inner world and your external circumstances, right? To not see that as separate, to see, oh, my body is over here, and then I can do some stuff in my inner world and hope that this will change my experience of my reality right now, which is that my body is hurting, or which is that I have a pain, or which is that I have a symptom, right? You should see that there's the most tightest connection that there ever is between your inner world and what shows up in your 3D experience, right? And you should create a very healthy relationship, right? We don't want to run away from the 3D, right? We don't want to try to escape it. We don't want to try to, forcefully ignore it. I will now say some words about ignoring your 3D, but that is, first of all, the foundation from which you should come from. What that means is you can acknowledge, you can be honest with yourself that you right now have health symptoms. You don't need to try to ignore these health symptoms, right? Because that, again, depends a little bit on your level of how advanced you are also with these teachings and all of that. But again, for most people, simply ignoring and trying to cover your eyes and be like, no, I don't have these health symptoms. That's all not real. I'm good. Right, that will cause a lot of resistance in your mind because your mind is tied to the senses. Your mind is bound to the 3D experience. And so when your mind perceives these symptoms, because it feels them in form of sensations, right? And you say, no, that's not real, I don't have it. Then your mind feels like, hey, are you lying? Because clearly you have it right now. So that is the first key. I would acknowledge it, right? I would go into self-admission mode and be like, okay, I now have that, right? I now have these health symptoms. I now have these circumstances. Again, it applies for all other life areas as well. So you have them, right? And then the important thing for you to understand is that you see that the 3D experience is never final. When did you ever had a 3D experience that was 100% final and has never changed on the outside, right? Everything is changing on the outside all the time. Some experiences are longer lasting. Some experiences are only lasting for a minute, for a day, for a week. Right? But eventually the 3D always changes, right? If you look back, if you're honest with yourself, you see that nothing has stayed there forever. So you should understand that the 3D is in connection with your inner world, meaning it's not that, the 3D, we are bound to stay forever in a state that we're in right now if we don't like it. Again, it's not that we are bound to stay forever in a state if we find this state to be dissatisfying, if we find this state undesirable. So your state that you're in right now is that you have these health symptoms, these health circumstances, and they are obviously not desirable. So instead of calling that a problem that you need to fight against, instead of calling that a problem and then in the stage where the problem exists, you search for, oh, how can I solve this problem? Instead of saying that, see it as an experience you no longer want to continue, right? It's an experience. It's an expression. It's a state that expresses, but you no longer want to continue that state. You no longer want to continue that experience. So what can we do? Right? We can go within ourselves, because no one to change but self. We can go within ourselves and give to ourselves that state that we want to see also out there, because we've understood that the world is a echoing mirror, a reverberant mirror. So what that means is that you can right now have the health symptoms and you acknowledge them. You don't tell yourself, oh no, the symptoms are not there. No, they are there right now. That's an experience. But at the same time, you can make a life in your inner world, in your imagination, right? Within another experience implying you're healthy, right? And at first, it might seem that those two will seem to contradict each other, right? Okay, within I'm healthy, outside I'm still not healed. What does all of that mean? Okay, we can go within, and although externally we have the symptoms, because we have the ability to imagine above our senses, we can encounter that state, we can anchor us in the state, we can experience something that implies the state of health. So we can make that alive, although we have the symptoms. Although right now the world shows us X, we can go within and experience Y. You know what I mean? So, and then you experience health. You experience that you're running. Maybe your foot is injured, or you have something on your foot. You can't move your foot, right? You can't move one of your 2 feet. And it hasn't gone away for 2 weeks, and it actually hurts, right? And you wonder, how can I solve this? When will this finally be away? That is all coming from you being in your current state. If you imagine, for example, that you're running in the park, you're going for a walk, or a friend says, hey, I've never seen you walking better, right? Or something that implies to you that you can walk smoothly again without any pain. By you experiencing that now again and again and dropping in it again, it will cause a conviction that comes from within, that will trump that you believe what your senses right now tell you. Right now, what your senses tell you trumps what you believe, right? And that your senses tell you, oh, you have this pain, you have this injury, you have these symptoms. Well, that is real for you, right? But then you go within and you start to nurture, you start to build this momentum for this new state. You start to go back to it, right? From the premise that imagining creates reality, from the premise that where we place our awareness on is eventually also what we experience in our outside world. So you put your awareness on the experience that your foot is completely healed, and that your foot is completely healthy, and that you can walk normally again, right? You don't manifest healing, you go straight into health. So you go there, and you go there, and you go there. And whenever your senses pull you back and try to convince you that, no, you have these symptoms, you have all of that, acknowledge it again, right? Don't escape it, acknowledge, okay, yes, right now here in this state I have these symptoms, but let me now dwell back in a state where I don't have the symptoms. And I guarantee you one thing, while you dwell in that imaginary activity, while you dwell in that act that implies to you that your foot is completely healed, in that moment, you don't worry. You can't worry. You're not overwhelmed. You're not scared. Because in that moment, your awareness is fully filled with the experience of you walking, with the experience that implies that you're healed again. So you don't even recognize symptoms any longer. But then you open your eyes, and then, symptoms are still there, right? But here's the thing. Remember, you have the inner you and the outer you. The outer you is bound to the senses. The inner you is basically wherever you dwell within. But wherever you dwell within, that is where you will eventually also end up on the outside. Right? I can right now close my eyes and imagine for 5 days that I'm in Spain on my favorite beach, in my favorite restaurant or my favorite hotel, and put myself there and start to believe it. And more so will I get impulses and ideas to actually, maybe ask friends if they want to travel there with me, or book flights and whatever, and that will end up there, right? So, same with the health symptoms, right? You will first not notice a change, but what you should notice, and that's the key indication, is that your reactions towards the symptoms that you now perceive should no longer come from a scared standpoint of, oh my God, when did they go away? Oh my God, what if they become more worse? Oh my God, for how long will this now be that way? But then your reactions will be like, that no longer feels like me. That no longer feels like belonging to me. That no longer feels like I'm identified with it. Because you have started to consciously identify with this new state, the state of where you are really healthy, right? You have done that internal shift. And that is the whole secret here, right? That is the whole mystery now solved, right? Within, you will stand already in health. Externally, you will still perceive the symptoms. They can still be there, but they will no longer trigger, overwhelm you, or make you react, because you made something new natural for you from deep within by experiencing this act that implies that you're healed. And I've worked with many people, and I myself have applied this for a couple of here and there little like health stuff, health related stuff, and also many people that I work with, they have applied that, and it works very smoothly, right? That's the power of imagination. So that is basically my answer when it comes to health circumstances, right? Acknowledge them. Don't run away from them. It's like a little conclusion. So you have this symptom right now. Acknowledge it. You have it. Don't even escape it. Your mind can't believe something else right now. Your mind is tied to the senses to experience or to believe what is in front of it right now. It does not have any reason to believe something new. But the fact that you desire health, the fact that you can even desire that whatever you have is now the opposite is now completely healed and in complete health again, means that you can imagine that. Obviously you can, because you can imagine everything, and what you can imagine, what you desire, that's a state that you can fully occupy, that you can fully shift into, that wants to be expressed through you, right? So allow that state, devote yourself to that state, experience that end state, right? Experience things in your imagination, experience an act, a scene, a congratulation, visualize something that implies to you that you are now healed. No, sorry, not that you're healed, that you are in health again. We don't want to imagine steps. We want to go straight to the end, right? We don't want to imagine that the doctor is telling us, oh, your foot looks good again. No, we can right now imagine that we're walking again as we would if everything would be perfect. So we go right to the end. And the more we do that, the more we create this momentum for this new state. And remember that your reactions to life always come from where you stand within, not from what is on the outside. Your reactions to life always come from where you stand within, not from what is. Right? Two people could react completely differently towards an external event because they both dwell within in different states. So if you dwell within in the new state of health, the current health circumstances will start over time. Maybe it takes 2 days, maybe it takes 5 days, maybe it takes 2 weeks. Give it time, be gentle with yourself, but they will seem unnatural. They will seem like they no longer belong to you, that you no longer are identified with them. And that is one of the best signs that an inner movement has taken place, that an inner shift has taken place into the state of the wish fulfilled. And then over time, that is going to express through its own bridge. All right? So give me a feedback in the comments. I would love to read about that, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you need more resources, you can check out my free masterclass. You can also check out my program in case you want to work with me, you want to dive deeper, you want to have a structured system. And if you want to get started and you want to get a taste, you want to get a mini version of my program, and you want to get into a tight-knit group of people who apply these teachings, then you can join my inner circle for only $50. You find that on my website if you go to upgrade2life.com. My website, upgrade2life.com. And there you will find also the inner circle. You can join that. You can leave at any point in time if you no longer like it. But in there, I've broken down all the teachings. I've interviewed a lot of people that have gotten amazing successes, and you can learn from all of that for just $50. So it's a no-brainer. And that's it, guys. I do assume that this helped you, and I'm seeing you in the next one. Bye, guys.